I always find it interesting when we talk about meditation or any level of slowing down, how it's a cheat code for moving faster, meaning that you think in most things you're doing that I'm a sprinter and in my, not in track and field, but just in everything, you know, in everything I do, I'm a fast runner. And the secret to getting better was to slow down, focus on the present space, the present moment. We talked in the very beginning, you gave me a great compliment about the energy that I bring to the table. My give a shit factor is 1,000% in whatever I'm doing, whatever we're talking about. Like it's a unique ability, and it's also turned up too loud. It can be a blind spot, right? What are we going to have for dinner? Oh my gosh, we got to get it. We go to the same place every time. Like everything matters to me. And so slowing down allows me to succeed so much faster. And meditation focused on the breath, the present state, is almost how a lot of these things come together, is it not?
Yeah, absolutely. And people fall on one side or the other of the spectrum. I tend to be very future focused by default, right? I'm always looking for what the outcomes are going to be, what could go wrong, how could I fix it? And in a sense that serves me, right? It's definitely been a part of my success, is being able to kind of plan ahead and strategize for what will happen. But that takes you out of the present moment. And having practices that bring you back to the present moment so that you can, one, be responsive and be aware and be able to react with what's really going on around you, not the stories you're telling yourself about the future, but also to actually just enjoy life, right? Just to be in it, right? Because if you're always hoping that there's some future achievement, some future goal, something, once I get that house, that car, that relationship, that whatever accolade, whatever it is, then I can be happy, then it'll be okay. That's the illusion. That's the trap. And so it's a high performer achiever trap that I know I fell into, and it took me a while to get out of. And so I'll give another concrete tool here, which is, in addition to meditation, simplest thing in the world, daily gratitude practice. It sounds ridiculous, but I would wake up every morning. I write down 3 things I'm grateful for. Just could be anything. Could be the sunshine, could be a clean bed, could be the meal I had yesterday. Of course, family, really powerful things from your past. And then in the evening, I write 3 great things about the day. And that's it. Each process takes 2 minutes, and it's within, I'd say, about 2 weeks, just transformed my frame, because my mind got used to, instead of thinking about what's wrong and what I need to fix, starting to think what's right, what's going well. And that just was such a powerhouse. And so, one of my mantras is, I'm content no matter what I have, and always working towards exciting and meaningful goals. To have that balance of, like, the goals that I'm chasing, the things that I want, are not the things that are going to make me happy. It's meaningful because I want to contribute, because I'm excited to learn and to grow, but it's not right now what I have, exactly what I have, wherever it is, wherever you are in life. You've got, food and a clear roof over your head. You've got so much to be grateful for. And being able to balance those 2 things has been a really important shift I made over the last 5 or 6 years, I'd say.
Yeah. A lot of us who have these conversations, we're not speaking from a path of knowing something without failing at it in the past. I mean, when I talk, I talk a lot about the fact that you are right where you're supposed to be. And I say this over and over and over again, but I also self-talk it over and over and over again. The minute I find myself too forward in the future, if I live too far in the future, I'm anxious, overly anxious. If I live too far in the past, you get depressed. But if you live in the present state and you're grateful, you start to build a habit, which is what you just talked about. You're building that habit in and around the things that are today, that are now, that you can actually see and open your eyes to understand, because all that stuff in the future, most of the time, is just another thing. And the more successful you become, the less it matters, meaning that you think that kicking the 45-yard field goal is going to be this bogey in your life that's going to be great. And then you kick the 47, you're like, well, if I can do 47, I can do 50. And you're always just moving the goalposts. It's so difficult to click the happiness button when it's always moving.
Yes. So yeah, I want to underscore two points there. One is, none of us had this all figured out, and 2, that reminders, continuous reminders, are the most important thing. I've often joked that I've learned enough in my life that if I just followed everything I know I need to do, my life would be perfect. I would have a six-pack abs. I'd be happy. I'd be rich. I'd be successful. I'd have all my relationships and dialed in. But that's not what happens, right? We forget the sort of trance of unworthiness of life traps us again, and we start thinking about these future goals, and we just get so locked into whatever problems or things that are in front of us. And so that's why when I say I have mantras, I have dozens of mantras. I have ones that I repeat every day. I have ones that I repeat every week, like to remind myself. I keep physical reminders and guides around different places. I listen to great podcasts and audiobooks. I join courses. I do, like, because that refresh and reminder process is just an integral part of life. And even coming back to, like, when I come back to some of my favorite books, year after year, I'm a different person when I read it, and I get new things out of it, and I'm able to reinforce those lessons. Wow, I really needed to hear that particular message now. And so there's no end to this process. There's no done to self-improvement. And that's great, right? Like, that is actually the learning to love that process of growth, learning to have compassion for yourself when you're not necessarily living up to your ideals, but then using that as a fuel to get better and to be an inspiration to help other people around. I found for me, I would often fail at my goals when it was just kind of doing it for myself. But once I started shifting my frame to be like, no, I'm doing this for the people around me. I want to be an inspiration to others, and I want to make sure that I could be the best version of me so that other people can live the best version of them. That suddenly changed my frame in such a powerful way that really gave me a much deeper fire and motivation to push, past what would normally be a discomfort barrier that I wouldn't bother if it's just for me. That's fine. I'll just sleep in or eat that extra cookie or not push so hard on this new project, or really try to refine these lessons and put them out there. It's been I think it's an important shift that probably can only happen later in life. I think it would be hard for me as a 20-something to be this focused on other people, but I think it's an important thing to strive for.
Yeah, I feel like there's more out there today, more access to the opportunity to learn these things earlier. I have a 17-year-old and a 14-year-old son, and a lot of what they listen to, a lot of the things that they say to me are an older version of my mindset, meaning that, to your point, in my 20s, I felt like, I use this analogy a lot of times, I felt like in most of my career, I was laying on my back punching up at the world. And it was like everybody's out there, and I just have to figure out how to get noticed, to be a part of it. And when I made the same mental shift you just talked about, where it became all about everybody else, and I happen to be just a part in the story. I don't always have to be the lead character. And when I was able to make that shift, it became about handing out, helping others, doing more, leveraging my skills and that unique ability to be a better version of myself, which started to elevate levels of success I didn't even dream of as a kid. And so, as you've developed things and you've built companies, and I love the story that and feel free to comment on that. I have another point. I'll actually pause and let you comment, because I get excited in these conversations. I'm not good enough or experienced enough yet to have the Tim Ferriss long form podcast, because I have to have the time on the guest. But the reality is, one day I'll have the long form and I'll work towards it, and we'll get to that point where I can go for in a couple hours and we build those things out. But I saw you light up a little bit when I was saying what I was saying, because I think you really relate to it. Do you not?
Yeah. So, I mean, I'll tell a specific story related to this, that, when I was in, I joined a group. I was living in San Diego, and I joined a charity group. It was called the Greatness Foundation, and now I think it's called the Greatness Collective. And they did a trip down to Mexico. We drove down to Mexico to build some homes for some homeless families down there. And it was, one of those things where I was like, all right, I'm very fortunate. I'll go ahead and take a weekend and go and give back. And I didn't know how to build anything. Didn't really know anybody in this group. It was kind of a little bit nervous for me, but I went down there, and it was one of the most profoundly transformative experiences of my life. It was the ability to not just get out of your own head and your own problems and really focus on giving was incredible. And then furthermore, again, the idea that I need to make another $100,000 or launch another big project or whatever is it's crazy. These people were living on dirt with a tarp over their head. Yep. It was just, so that the instant like sort of gratitude for what I had, and then just the pure focus, like, okay, what can I do for them? And by the end of that weekend, we'd built 2 homes for those families. I brought a bunch of my games and toys for the kids in the neighborhood. And so this shift of putting yourself in a place where you're focused on others is critical. But then there was another tangential effect for this. If you start to get in the habit of this, that means you're surrounding yourself with people who are also in this mindset. These are people who are there to give, who are there to grow, who are there to contribute. That everybody there is taking their time off to go and spend this time and donate money and make this happen. And so those people became some of my closest friends. And this is one of the other cheat codes for life. It's like, if you surround yourself with people that lift you up, that are on the same kind of mission, by default, you are going to rise. It's like a force of gravity, And the opposite is true too. I mean, prior to that, I had surrounded myself with some people who were bringing me down, and even some people who were very close to me. It could be family members, one of my best friends, and that makes it very, very difficult to pull out, because the force of gravity is going to pull you down, and it's possible to get out of that, but it is very difficult. So, not only do you benefit from helping other people in the direct mindset shift, your internal gratitude, your focus leaves your problems and goes to helping others, but it also has this tangential effect of the more you surround yourself, not just with the sort of positive messages like we talked about with things like podcasts and mantras and books, but positive people who are on the same mission as you, surrounding yourself with those people. It's a real superpower that can accelerate your own growth and your own happiness.
If you like clips like this, I have a similar clip here. And if you want to watch the full video, click here.